I think okay, today's daf is daf Yud Gimel, and this daf is continuation of the topics that we're discussing in the past few days, and that is if somebody we came up against a simple situation where somebody comes over to you and says, "You owe me money," and you said, "I'm not sure if I owe you money." So there's machlekes in the Gemara, two Amoraim, and one said that you have to pay up. And one said, Rav Nachman said, you don't have to pay up. Well, one said you have to pay up because Bori and Shema, if somebody's confident in what they're saying and you're not sure, the Bori always wins. But Rav Nachman said, wait a second, you don't have to pay up because you keep the money in the presumptive status. Unless the guy proves that you owe him money, just by him saying so will not be enough for him to draw money out of you. That's what we discussed yesterday. We also discussed the machlokes between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua, that sometimes a bori can win even against the chazaka, according to Rabbi Gamliel, if there is another chazaka on the side of the bori, or another migoy, a proof that the one is saying the truth. Let's see the case over here. The Mishnah begins, Daf Yud Gimel Lamed Aleph by the Mishnah. A guy got married, okay, and he's thinking that he has a basula. All of a sudden, she wakes up, there's no dam. He asks her, what's going on? And she says, I got injured, and therefore I lost my basulam. And he says, loy, not so. Ella kidrus drushes ishat, you slept with another man. Okay, you were trampled by another man, which means he was before I even met you. You slept around, and that's why you're not. This whole marriage is not really a good marriage. So I don't owe you for the ksuba. So Rabbi Gamliel, Omer Rabbi Lezer, Omer Me'amenes. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer says she's believed. Why does she believe? Because she's the chazaka. Is that most women are not going to do znus, not going to sleep around, and therefore, and also she has a migoy. She could have said, I was injured while I was married to you. So that was also a migoy. So we believe her that she must be saying the truth, that she got injured. She's saying she may have got injured before she got married. Rabbi Yeshua says, nope, we don't believe her. Loy mepio onechaim. We don't rely on, we don't live according to her mouth. In other words, she must be saying false. Ella harezu becheskes drusas ish. We assume that she was slept with another man. Until she proves not so. Where's her basulim? If she can't prove how she lost her basulim, the marriage is on the rocks. And now let's see what the Gemara says. The Gemara asks, what is the argument between the man and the wife? What are they really trying to say? So Rabbi Yochanan says, b'masayin. She's saying, I get a ksuba of 200 because even though I'm a mukas, even though you're thinking you're marrying a basula, I'm telling you, I was injured. So really, it's not my fault. So I should get 200 for the ksuba. And he's saying, no, you slept around with somebody else and you only get mana. You only get 100. Rab Lazar says, no, the machlokes is b'mona v'loy klum. Wow. She's saying, I got injured. So I don't get 200 because at the end of the day, I'm not a basula. But I should only get 100, like an almana. Like if you marry an almana who's not a basula, you get a mana. But he's saying if you slept around before we got married, you get nothing, v'loy klum, because I'm thinking I'm marrying a woman, a pure woman, a basula, and it turns out you slept around before I got married. That is what the husband and wife are arguing about. So that is the Gemara's explanation of the Mishnah, and the Gemara goes on further. Rabbi Yochanan says, b'masayim umana, that the difference between the woman who's saying masayim and he saying that you only get 100 is because savalok Rab Meir. Rabbi Yochanan held like Rab Meir, and he says the Mishnah goes according to Rab Meir, that says that even a woman that turns out to be a mukas eitz, whether he was aware of it or not, if she still gets masayim. The Omar, Rabbi Meir said, Bain hikarbal, Bain loy hikarbal, whether he was aware of it or whether he was not aware of it, if it turns out that she was a mukas eitz, an injured woman, he has to pay Masayim 200. So therefore, she's saying I deserve 200, and the man is saying no, you slept around, you only get 100. Rabbi Lazar says no, b'mona v'loy klum. The argument is whether he's saying you only get 100 because she's saying I get 100 because I'm a mukas eitz, and he's saying you get nothing because savala karabanim. He says our Mishnah goes according to the Rabbanim, the Amrei, who say bein hikaba, bein lo hikaba, whether you're aware of it or whether you're not aware of it. If it turns out that your wife was a mukas eitz, she only gets mana. She gets 100. So therefore, if she's saying I'm a mukas eitz, if our Mishnah goes according to the Rabbanim, she's only supposed to get 100. So that's what she's saying, and he's saying you're supposed to get 0. So the Gemara is saying like this. That's how Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar argued and how to explain the Mishnah of what the man and the woman are arguing about. So the Gemara says like this: Bishlam Rabbi Lazar like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Lazar wanted to say our Mishnah goes according to Rabbanim that a mukas eitz gets 100, right? And he didn't want to say explain the Mishnah like Rabbi Yochanan. So according to Rabbi Lazar, they're arguing whether mana v'loy klum, because the Kamoike law Karabanan. He interprets our Mishnah according to the Rabbanan. Ella, but Rabbi Yochanan, my time at La'oma Rabbi Lazar. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan say like Rabbi Lazar? Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan say that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbanan? That is the majority of the opinion. What is the majority opinion? The majority opinion is that you're marrying a basula, thinking you're getting a basula, and it turns out she was a mukas eitz, an injured woman. She gets 100. She loses part of it. And so Rabbi Yochanan says our Mishnah goes according to our mayor that a mukas eitz always gets 200. Why didn't he say our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Lazar? But answers the Gemara, Kusava, Rabbi Yochanan has another opinion. Konsa becheskes besula, if you think you're marrying a besula, beninsas beula, and you turned out she's a beula, she actually slept around, yesh lo ksuba mana, she gets a mana. Now, if that's the case, that if you marry a basula and you turn out that she slept around, the marriage is not over, but you get a ksuba mana. The marriage still is on, but she loses part of her ksuba. So then, in that case, he's saying you slept around, and she's saying I'm a mukas eitz. So they're both saying that the ksuba is a mana. So what's the difference between her and him? Who called a mana? He's saying you're supposed to only get a mana because I agree that you slept around and I'm supposed to give you only a mana. He called and she's saying I'm a mukas eitz. I'm supposed to also get a mana. According to Rabbanan, a mukas eitz gets a mana. So my ika ben tani de de tani de do. What would be the difference between the two? It must be that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Meir, that if she turns out and says I'm a mukas eitz, she's supposed to get 200. And therefore, he's saying that you slept around, you're only supposed to get 100. That's how Rabbi Yochanan interpreted our Mishnah. Now the Gemara asks a question. So then now we have two cases. We have two cases of Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer arguing. One is our case of mukas eitz, and he's saying drusha ish. And if you remember yesterday, there was also an argument. He's saying Rabbi Gamliel, again, a guy slept with his wife, didn't find psulim, and she says, no, I got raped after I got married, and he said you got raped prior to the marriage. Okay, so Bishlam like Rabbi Lazar. So I understand the way Rabbi Lazar interpreted the Mishnah. So Hainu de Toni Tarte. That's why you have two cases where Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua have an argument. One case is the Apuke mid Rami Bachama, to exclude what Rami Bachama said. He said that if someone says he's a mukas eitz, you get nothing, right? There's 0. So that's if he wasn't notified, even Rav Meir would hold that. Even Rav Meir will say that you get nothing. So therefore, that's why we said one chiddush of the Mishnah over here that's saying no, you would get something. You would get a mana. And one case and one argument between Rav Gamliel and Rav Yeshua is teaching you la puke mid Rab Chia bar Oven, to exclude what Rab Chia bar Oven said, who said that he said when she's saying. He's saying that you got raped before we got married, and my mekach was a mekach tois. He doesn't mean that she gets nothing. Rabbi Chibar Oven says maybe he gets nothing. No, we have this concept that konsa becheskes besula v'nimtzas beula yesh la ksuba. You get nothing. Okay, you get nothing because Reb Chibur Oven says you get something. That's what Reb Chibur Oven says. So you get something. So that's why we have two scenarios, not like Rabbi Yochanan said. According to Rabbi Lazar, you're supposed to get nothing. If you're thinking you're marrying a basula and it turns out to be a baula, you're supposed to get zero. That's why, according to Rabbi Lazar, it makes sense that the Mishnah was broken up in two different cases and gives you two arguments between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. El Rabbi Yochanan Tarte Lamali. Why do you have to tell me two scenarios? Because Rabbi Yochanan holds if konsa becheskes besula v'nitzas beula yesh la ksubamana, so you do hold a Rabbi Chia ba'aven. So therefore, why do you have to have a break between the two? And says the Gemara, you need two scenarios: is chada lo hidyacha koiche de Rabbi Gamliel, v'chada lo hidyacha koiche de Rabbi Yeshua. One Mishnah teaches you how strong Rabbi Gamliel is of his opinion, and one Mishnah is teaching you how Rabbi Yeshua, who said you're not believed, she's not believed, how strong is in the opinion. Kamaisa, the first Mishnah is lo hidyacha koiche de Rabbi Yeshua. She's saying, and teach you how powerful Rabbi Yeshua is, because she's saying I got raped after I got married. It's your fault. It's not, I shouldn't lose anything. So Rabbi Yeshua said you don't believe her. She could have said something better. She could have said a mukas eitz, and then by saying mukas eitz, that's a better claim, because by saying mukas eitz, she doesn't passel herself from ever marrying a kohen. She's saying I did znus, but it was after I got engaged and I was raped. So even though we can see that she must be saying the truth, Rabbi Yeshua says loy mehemna, she's not believed. Basraisa, the second case, is lo yedyacha koiche de Rabbi Gamliel, to teach you how powerful Rabbi Gamliel is. You can't say amigo anymore because she's actually saying I'm a mukas eitz. So what could have been a better excuse for her to say? Right? What would be a better excuse? Nevertheless, even though she has no migoy, Rabbi Gamliel says mehemna, she is believed. Now, why is she believed? It's not just bari, but she has a cheskas that Jewish girls don't do znus. So that's why Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed. So again, this is just explaining the machlokes between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua when a husband and wife have an argument. He's complaining, I don't find any basulim, and she's saying I got injured. And she's saying, no, you slept around. Now, new Mishnah. Now this Mishnah segues into another scenario where you're questioning her. Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed, and Rabbi Yeshua says she's not believed. So the Mishnah says, Ra'u medaberes emechad. Medaberes means she's speaking with somebody. In other words, she's making out, let's say, with one person. We're not clear if they actually had intercourse or not, or they did not. But we see that she made out with a strange man, v'amrullah, and people approached her. Mativu shalishter. What's about this man? And it means, maybe he's a mamzer you made out with. Maybe you had znus with a mamzer. Maybe you had a znus with a goy, somebody from the 7 nations. And what's the point of knowing that she slept around? Well, then she can never marry a kohen. So she says, Ish ploini, I slept with so-and-so, the kohenu, and he's a kohen. She doesn't have to say, she's just saying, trust me that the person I slept around was a regular Jewish person. So I'm just a single woman sleeping around, and therefore I'm not considered a zoina to prohibit me from ever marrying a kohen. So Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lazar, they say ne'amenes, we trust her. Rabbi Shua says loy mepio anuchaim, we don't trust her at all. El harezu becheskes beula, we assume that she slept around lenosin to somebody from the 7 nations, mamzer, and therefore she's like a zona. And achatovi raylet until she proves otherwise, because Rabbi Gamliel held that we have again a cheskes kashrus on this woman. She didn't sleep around, and Rabbi Yeshua says she's not believed. We don't trust the cheskes kashrus, and we can assume that she may have slept with somebody not appropriate for her, and therefore she's considered zayna. She can never marry a kohen. One step further, hoysumu beres. We find a girl who's not married, and we find her pregnant, and they asked her, how did you become pregnant? And she says, I got pregnant through a Jewish man, a kosher Jewish man. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer, she's trusted. Rabbi Yeshua says, Loi mipia onachayim. We don't trust her at all. Elo harei zu becheskas mu'uberes. We assume that she got pregnant through an illegal relations. Lenosin, to somebody from the 7 nations that you're not supposed to have relations with. And the Torah says actually kill these people. Ula mamzer or a mamzer. And achatovi raya until she proves her point. So we're going to see more about it. Pashtus, it means that we're asking her how kosher, if she's trusted, her kid also is kosher. And Rabbi Yeshua says if she's not trusted, not only is her kid not kosher, but she is not kosher also. So the Gemara says like this. The first case was, we see a woman speaking with somebody. So, my midaberes, what does it mean, midaberes? We actually saw her speaking with somebody. Zeiri says nistara. Zeiri says that nistara means we didn't actually see them have intercourse. We just saw them go secluded privately, with each other. We can assume that she slept with him, but we're not certain. Rabasi says niv Allah. Rabasi says she actually had bia. In other words, we're certain they slept with each other and had intercourse. That's what it means. So now the Gemara says like this. So first of all, if that's the way Rav Zeiri understands the Mishnah, l'chayra, Rabbi Lezer seems correct. You see a woman, she was miyached with somebody. She actually had yichud. She went in seclusion with somebody. The problem is she said, I slept with him. She must be saying, I slept with him, but we're not sure. Only she is telling us she slept with the guy, and she's also telling us that guy is a kosher Jew. That's why Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed. Rabbi Yeshua says she's not believed. But if she would deny that she ever slept with somebody, then certainly, Rabbi Yeshua would not say we don't believe her. It's only because she says, I slept with him. Now the question is he a kosher person or not? So the Gemara had a machlekes what midaberes means. Ze'eri said it meant she went in seclusion. So the Gemara says that makes more sense because Bishlam and Ze'eri, I understand very well Ze'eri's opinion, how to explain the Mishnah. Hainu de ketana midaberes. That's why the Mishnah says she was speaking with somebody. She was speaking, but she went into seclusion with the guy. And therefore, that's the word midaberes, because we don't know if she had bia with that person. According to Ravasi, my midaberes. If Ravasi says midaberes means she had bia, where do we see that the word midaberes, speaking with somebody, has anything to do with bia? Answers the Gemara, lishna ma'alya. It's a high language. In other words, a clean way to refer to sex. Is using the word midaberes, speaking. Now, because we find psukim that refer to bia, and it actually doesn't use the word bia. For example, there's a pasuk in Mishnah that refers to bia, and it says achlo maksapia. She eats and wipes her mouth, but Amra, and she says loy pa'alti oven. I didn't do anything wrong. So that means that pasuk is referencing to bia, but it calls it like food. So here we call the bia midaberes, speaking. So now the Gemara asks, Bishlam Ze'eri, I understand Ze'eri how's interpreting our Mishnah, because you have two scenarios. That's why we have two cases in the Mishnah. Midaberes, one case sees that she's speaking with somebody. She didn't seclude, so you don't know if she had bia. The second case was we actually see a lady pregnant. So that's why you have two cases in the Mishnah. According to Ravasi, if the first case in the Mishnah is we actually have witnesses that saw that she had bia with this person, but we don't know who he is, tarti lameli, then why do you need two cases? Of one, they saw her do bia. The second case is they saw her being pregnant. That's one of the same. Answers the Gemara, chadar lahaksha ba, chadar haksha bebita. One case is to tell me the Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed to make herself kosher. The second case is to teach you lahaksha bebita, that Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed not only her, but she's believed also with her child, because even though the child doesn't have a cheskas kashrus, her nemanas, her belief will extend to the child as well in the second case of the Mishnah. So the Gemara says, wait a second. Gemara's question is, wait a second, not everybody agrees to that idea. There's some that hold that when Rabbi Gamliel said that we believe her means we only believe her regarding herself, not regarding the daughter. Yes, there is an opinion that says Rabbi Gamliel extended his belief not only to her, but to the daughter himself. But there is an opinion that says we don't extend it to the daughter. So again, why do we have two cases? According answers the Gemara, Ravasi Sova Command Yomar, the Divrei HaMachshaba, Machshabavita. Ravashi holds like the person that says that Rabbi Gamliel says both are kosher, she and the daughter. And that's why you have two cases according to Rabbi Gamliel. Well, according to Ravasi. First case is we actually saw her do bia, and Rabbi Gamliel says we believe her for herself. The second case is if we see her pregnant, is the chiddush according to Rabbi Ashi. I know she had bia, but not only do we believe her herself, but we believe her regarding the child, even though the child does not have a cheskes krashus. Question is, Omalera Papa Labaya. Papa said to Rabaya, L'ziiri to Oma Mai Medaberes Nistra. According to Ziri, the word Medaberes means she went into seclusion. The Oma Rabbi Shua, Loy Mehemna, and Rabbi Shua said, we don't believe her. But Ha'ama Rav said, and Rav agrees with Rabbi Yeshua, but Rav said, Malkin al Yichud. If we see a woman go into seclusion with a man that's not her husband, we give Malchus for her. We don't know if she had bia or not. We just give her Malchus, because how could a married woman seclude herself with a strange man? But we don't answer her to her husband just because she's secluded with another man. So, but according to Rabbi Yeshua, as soon as you seclude with somebody, we don't believe you anymore. We assume you had bia. Lema de like Rabbi Yeshua. Would Rav's statement be not like the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua? So the answer is no. In all cases, we would believe her. That's the point. We always believe her. But Rabbi Yeshua said it only by our Mishnah. But this is the important point. Rabbi Yeshua did not believe her if she wants to marry a kohen. This pnuya went into seclusion. This single woman went into seclusion with a strange man. Rabbi Yeshua said, wait a second, you now want to marry a kohen? Maybe you slept with somebody like a mamzer. So even though I know you secluded with that person, maybe you slept with that person, and maybe that person was a mamzer. Therefore, we made an extra level of when it comes to marrying a kohen that this woman cannot marry a kohen. But all the other cases, we trust her. Even Rabbi Shua would agree we trust her. Meisave, the Gemara asks a question. Again, there's machlekes between what medaberes means. According to Zeiri means they went into seclusion. According to Rav Ashi, interpretation of Amisha means that they actually had bia with each other. So the Gemara says, Meisvi, I'll ask you a question. We saw that she went into seclusion, and l'seisa means she didn't do bia with that person. We saw that. Oi, now we go to Amid Beis. You give me Amid Beis. Oi l'churba, she went into an abandoned place. Now, an abandoned place means she had bia with that person. And now, the Amr law, this is the Brisa with more words than our Mishnah. So the Brisa talks about two cases. One, that she actually secluded, we don't know if they had bia. And two, l'churba means that they went into abandoned place. Obviously, they had bia. The Amr law, they asked her, Mativo shel Ishza, what is special about this person? Is he kosher? It's a kohen, and it's actually my first cousin. You know how it always is that when they ask the boy, they ask the girl who she's making out with, you say, oh, no, we know each other. It's my cousin. So that's what she's saying. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lazar, she's believed. Rabbi Shua, we don't trust her. We don't trust her until she proves it. So we gave two cases. So that's the Gemara saying, Bishlam is the area, it makes sense. That's why it says two cases. L'seiser, they went into a private place and we don't know if they had bia, or l'churba, or they went into an abandoned place, which means that they must have had bia with each other, or we know for a fact they had bia with each other. Ravasi says the Oman Nivala, that both cases must be talking about Nivala, because Ravasi says by seiser alone, if they just went into a secluded place, there wouldn't be any argument. So certainly Rabbi Shua would say you would be believed. So it's only if they had bia. Tarte lomeli. What is the difference between the word seiser oil churba? What is the difference between? So the Gemara says Rav Asi is going to say chadikatani. It's one case, one in the same. The seiser de churba, a secluded place which is abandoned. That means that they did bia. So the Gemara says, but you can't change the brisa. Well, the seiser, the brisa says two cases: secluded place or lechurba or abandoned place. Katani. Answers the Gemara, chada. They're both desolate places, abandoned places. But it's actually a place where people do znus with. One place is teaching you the abandoned place of the city. That's what seiser means. It's the middle of the city, but like an alleyway, an abandoned alleyway or abandoned house in the city, and a Jewish city. Okay, it's a Jewish city where everybody is a kosher person. Most people there are Jews. And one case is she went into an abandoned place that's out there in the fields where they are mostly going. And I need both cases. The Ashvi, if we just say churba damasa, that she went secluded, she went and had bia in an abandoned place in the city, because only in such a scenario would Rab Gamliel say it's kosher. Because most people living in the city are Jews, so then we can trust her. But if she went into an abandoned place and had bia with somebody out there in the fields, the right psulanets, the most people are goyim there. Maybe Rabbi Yeshua, that maybe we would agree to Rabbi Yeshua that we don't believe her. Maybe we don't trust her that she slept with a Jew. We say that most people there are goyim. You probably slept with a goy and you're a zayna. The Ashmin, if we just say by he, if we just say the case by the abandoned city of the fields, I would say the opposite. He Rabbi Yeshua. In that case, Rabbi Yeshua said, that Rabbi Yeshua said you don't believe her, because most people are not Jewish there, and that's why she's a for sure zayna. But if it was an abandoned place in the city, and we know she had bia with somebody from the city, and most people living in the city are kosher people, maybe Rabbi Yeshua would agree to Rabbi Gamliel. That's why we need two cases to explain you how far the shittas go, the opinions go. Rabbi Gamliel says she's always believed, and Rabbi Yeshua says she's never believed, even if most people, I can assume that she had bia with most of the people, with a majority of the people there, and it's in the city are kosher people. Still, Rabbi Yeshua would not believe her. New question, and this is going to finally be the knockout blow to Rab Asi's interpretation. The Mishnah, the Brisa says, again, this is a Brisa explaining our Mishnah. Zu edis sheishik sherla. If a woman says that I slept with a guy who was a regular Jew, we don't say she's a zoyna. That's what Rabbi Gamliel said. Rabbi Yeshua and the Chachamim said. Rabbi Yeshua, we don't believe her. Amalei Rabbi Yeshua said and wanted to prove his point that you shouldn't believe her. Would you not agree? If a girl went into captivity, she was a prisoner of war. And we have witnesses that she's a prisoner of war, and certainly we could assume that her captives took advantage of her and slept with her. Even if she would say, I am pure, I didn't sleep with anybody, we wouldn't trust her. So same thing over here. Why do you say in some scenarios, you agree with me, Rabbi Yeshua says, that we don't trust her. So why wouldn't I trust? Why don't you believe me? Why don't you say like my opinion is and not to trust her? They told him, Aval, yes, but she's saying the truth. So the Gemara says, my hefresh ben zulazir. So Rabbi Yeshua asks, what's the difference between a girl in captivity and a girl that's just secluding with a guy? Answers the Gemara, Lazu eish edim. When someone is a prisoner of war, it's obvious that the Goyish captors took advantage of her and slept with her. Or Lazu, but here, ein lo edim, we're not sure if somebody slept with her. She's telling us that she slept with somebody, and therefore we can trust her that she's saying kosher. That's already an indication that we don't know she slept with somebody. There's no edim. She just went into seclusion. So already the Gemara is going to finish up the brisa and say that the way Rab Asi interpreted the machlekes is only if they slept with each other, and we know for a fact, is not indicated in this brisa. The Gemara continues. Amar lehem, so Rabbi Yeshua said, you argue with me, even if I know for a fact she slept with somebody. Share kresu ben sheneha. When she's pregnant, you also argue with me and say that she's believed. And now I know for a fact she slept with somebody, and you still say she's believed. So first, the Brisa says something that doesn't make sense. Most goyim don't do arayas, sleep with women. And we don't trust arayas. So this part doesn't seem to answer the previous point that Rabbi Yeshua asked the Chachamim, that how could you argue with me when you actually have a woman that's pregnant, she obviously slept with somebody. So the Gemara is going to explain this in a moment. So skip these lines in a moment. And answers, but the Gemara says, when do we trust a woman is only about herself. But if regarding the daughter, we don't trust her. The daughter remains something of a mystery. Shtuki means like a mystery. So that's the end of the Brisa. So the first, the Gemara just cleans up the Brisa to make sure that the Brisa makes sense. What did Rabbi Yeshua say to the people? To Rabbi Gamliel. What did Rabbi Gamliel with the Chachamim answered back? By the way, you can see that most of the Chachamim agreed with Rabbi Gamliel that you believe this girl. So the Gemara says, "Hochik amrile." This is what they said. Yes. Okay. Rabbi Shua said you have a good claim against us. Why we trust her when she's pregnant? Maybe we shouldn't. But why do you not trust her when you just see she's going into seclusion with a strange guy? Why not trust her? Rabbi Yeshua said, "Medaberes hainishvuya." Medaberes is like if she goes secluding with a strange guy, that's like being a prisoner of war. We assume that they had relations, and she's a zona. Amrloi, so they said back to Rabbi Yeshua, "Shani shvuya," by a prisoner of war. The roiv groivim prutzim barayim. You could assume she got taken advantage of, because most goyim, when they have a woman in captivity, they take advantage of her and sleep with her, but not necessarily somebody who just went into seclusion with somebody. We don't know if they slept with each other. Amalehem haname came in the state ein apitropis larayim. Rabbi Yeshua says, I don't trust her, because if she's going into seclusion with a man, you can't assume that they didn't actually sleep with each other. So that's the ends the Brisa. That's why Rabbi Yeshua is so strict of his opinion that even if you see them secluding with each other, Rabbi Yeshua doesn't trust her anymore. And she's considered a Zoyna, she can never marry a Kohen. But obviously sees from this Brisa that Rabbi Yeshua extended his opinion even if there was just a seclusion. Midaberes, there's one case of being secluded. We don't know if they had bia. Umuberes, and of course, the second case is that they had relations with each other. To Yufta Rabasi, it's a refutation against Rabasi. Rabasi did not want to say midaberes means that they secluded. He wanted to say midaberes means that they slept with each other. So to Yufta, this is refutation. So what the Gemara is just coming right now and saying that the word midaberes in our Mishnah is that she went seclusion with a guy, and we don't know if she had bia or not. She says, I had bia with the guy, but it's kosher. On that, Rabbi Gamliel says, we believe her. Rabbi Yeshua says, we don't believe her. Two more questions, then we'll stop. The Tepik the Gemara asks against Rabbi Yeshua, the Hasam Rav Pesulim Esla, the Hacha Rav Kisher Matzah. Why would Rabbi Yeshua not believe a woman that went into seclusion? Let's say she lived in Borough Park, okay? And most of the people are Jews. Why wouldn't Rabbi Yeshua say, we trust her? If most of the people that are living in that city are kosher Jews, why wouldn't we trust her and say most of the people are kosher to her? And when a girl is a prisoner of war by Goyim, certainly they're apostle. Okay, you don't believe her. But here, most of the people are kosher, so we should believe her. Because even if you think she slept with somebody, who's she sleeping with? Another Jew, another kosher Jew. And Messiah Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. This is a proof to what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said. The Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he explained that Rabbi Gamliel's opinion, Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. The Divrei Machsha, according to Rabbi Gamliel, who you always trust, Machsha Afila B'Rei Psulim, he extended his opinion is even if you know that most of the people are a goyim. Let's say she went into seclusion with somebody in New York City, and most people are goyim. We still believe her to say, no, I slept with a Jew. The divrei hapaisel, according to Rabbi Yeshua, that you don't believe her is paisel afilu b'roif ksherim. He would paisel even with most of the people in the city are kosher people. If she even in Borough Park, he would say, "Oh, you went to seclusion with somebody. We don't trust you. You can never marry a kohen." That's how extreme their opinions are. Now the Gemara. So that was explaining the Gemara. I want to tell you that we paskin like Rabbi Gamliel, that we always trust you. You can't. If a Baal Tshuva says, "Yes, I slept around before I did tshuva," she's permitted to marry a kohen. Only b'di eved, by the way. Only b'di eved. If she married a kohen, we say it's okay. But l'chatchila, we don't want her to marry a kohen, even if we paskin like Rabbi Gamliel that we trust her that she slept with somebody who was kosher. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said one last thing. The divrei hamachshir ba machshir bebita. Okay, we'll stop over here. Let's stop over here, and we'll continue Be'ezus Hashem tomorrow.